Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Lane Yappers. Today we're going to be recapping Silverstone, aka the British Grand Prix. I'm Lex.
I'm Mox.
I'm Rosie.
I'm Reagan.
I'm Tay.
Haley is not with us because she's in Italy going to see Taylor Swift.
Not the same night that Charles and Pierre and Kika and Alex were
That's
there.
family business. Be quiet.
Listen,
Rosie said stay out of the family business.
before we get into any of our recap, 3 of our members were there. Before hopping into FP1, there are a few notes. During that weekend, Ollie Behrman was officially announced as a Haas driver for 2025.
Woo, woo, woo!
Yeah,
Much
that's
to
my
the
boy.
surprise of nobody, but good on him! Go, Ollie!
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah,
if he
Ollie's actually going to
wasn't
be
out.
the only Haas driver.
I remember-
Exactly.
I remember, Rosie, you were knocking on the bathroom and you were like, Ollie just got announced at like 6 in the morning when we were trying to get to Ollie. Not Ollie Behrman, other Ollie. Rosie's Ollie.
My friend
Anyways,
who drove us very kindly.
next.
It was very nice that they announced Ollie's contract at his home race. It's nice.
Yes.
Speaking of home races, we had 4 British racers. Alex Albon, you are not erased by us.
Exactly.
That's a big point of this weekend. All of the promotion was all Lando George Lewis,
I get that
Alex
he's like,
Erasure.
I get that he drives under the Thai flag, so they're like he's not a British driver, but he is a British driver.
A lot of the drivers
Like-
could drive under another flag, so
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
Lando
make-
gets promo
Lando
for Belgium.
Yeah.
Lewis gets
Um,
promo for Brazil.
Daniel Ricciardo gets promo for Coda.
Yeah.
Valtteri gets Australian promo.
Yeah.
So I think Alex Albon should get promo for Silverstone. That's
Yeah.
my
At the
call. and
Williams
I thought
fan
people all
zone.
Alex
weekend.
Albon erasure is crazy.
At the Williams fan zone, one of the women that Rosie and I were talking about went, Alex Albon is the 4th British driver. And I was like, real.
Correct.
Yeah.
Good answer. Ding, ding,
And
ding.
we had 5 British drivers during FP1 because Ollie was in.
Yeah.
Is it?
So
Oh no, Isaac's not.
represent.
No,
He's French.
we had
Woo!
4 reserve driver sub-ins in FP1.
Yes.
So yeah,
In
FP1.
Okay, that's a good
Who do we have?
FP1.
We had Ollie in for
We had
K-Mag. Thank
Franco.
God.
We had
Yes.
Isaac Hadjar in the Red Bull.
For
For
Checo.
Checo. We
Yeah.
had
Jack Doohan.
friend of the pod. Finally getting some running after the mess that was Canada? Spain? Which one was he in?
Yes, Canada.
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 Oh, rough
He
times
got
for
literally
Jack Doohan.
1 lap.
And
He
Franco.
got half a lap.
That was just a weird weekend altogether. We just forget about that.
We forget about that weekend, for real.
And
And
then we
then
had
Franco was in the Williams.
My
Mhm.
amor, Franco. That's Logan's little son.
which, can I tell you, I was watching FP1. I was like, wow, this Williams is really slow, like a lot slower than I expected. And Rosie went, I'm pretty sure that's Franco.
Man, why is he catching strays?
I was like, we were on like the slowest corner, but I was like, wow, this guy is slow.
He's just a baby.
He
Leave him
did
He
a
did
alone.
get
break.
faster. He got faster, everybody. But
He did good. He did good for his first outing.
we did have a crash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yuki.
Yes, we did.
Yuki.
I looked down for 2 seconds to text my dad, and I looked up, and Yuki was in the gravel in front of me, and I was like, whoa.
Literally, that was our corner. So I was like not really paying attention because it'd been like 10 minutes and it was raining. And I was trying to be like warm. And I look up and Yuki's like right there. And then we watched the crane go and get him. Go get his car.
When they were collecting the car, Yuki had to hide between the fence and the porta potty from all the fans. I'm like,
Because of
oh
the
my God.
fans.
There was
Imagine
a little.
that life.
They didn't show it on the screen, but there was a little bench that he was sitting on.
Oh.
There was a little hideout for the marshals in case a car crashes, they didn't get hit. That's where he was. It did look like he was hiding between a porta potty and a fence, but he had a bench. Like he actually had a little hut.
Insider info. We would
Yeah.
not have known.
But I was like, where is he going? Because he was walking right towards the fans and everyone was just swarming. And I was like, where is he going?
He had a death wish.
Lando P1.
If anybody cares,
real.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Lance Stroll
Yes.
P2, baby.
Bringing up number 3, even with his issues, Oscar Piastri in P3.
I
know
forgot
my
he had
goat.
issues. I forgot that he had
Yeah,
It was
issues.
towards the
hydraulic
end of the
problem,
session. There was only a
right?
few
It was-
minutes
remember-
left.
All
It
I
was
remember is Rosie went, why is Oscar slowing down? And I was like, I don't know. I'm watching it the same as you. And then I looked at a tweet and I go, oh, he has issues. And she goes, I'm finding the McLaren garage.
And then he got stuck in the pit lane when he was trying to go back in. And
They had to
close
get the
it.
marshals out to
Yeah.
just push him in.
It was
You're so
reported
close.
as a hydraulic issue, but it was actually a fuel cell issue.
Whatever that means. I'm not going to
Yeah.
pretend I know what that means, guys.
Not my job, not my degree, not my
But-
day wage.
Also, can I just say, nobody else is an Aston Martin fan, but Aston Martin was cooking.
Yeah, they were.
Cooking. And I was like, oh, thank God they figured it out. Which I feel like they
Stroll-
might have figured it out.
Stroll
They were
top
one of the
three
teams that
graphic.
didn't bring updates that weekend.
Hence
which
the
is
reason they figured it out. They've decided not to upgrade at all because they're going back to the base.
Which, speaking of updates, there were 4 teams that had updates, and
Mhm.
McLaren had the biggest package out of all of them.
It was a
But I
bunch
think
of
it was
wing stuff. It was a
Will
rear and a B
Buxton.
wing.
Will Buxton was saying that Max had said to Red Bull, if I'm going to be fighting Lando, I need like certain upgrades. And they did not have them for him at all. And
They had a new floor,
McLaren is the
though.
one. They had a new floor and that was it, but McLaren
Yeah.
had rear wing,
Two-
beam
they-
wing, cooling, like other stuff. And so like they had the bigger step up.
Can I
so
just
like they didn't
say-
really give Max what he needed.
Can I just say, in person, the Red Bull engine just sounds 10 times better than every other engine on that track. Also, McLaren's engine sounds awful. I don't know how it works. It sounds like it's like 2 seconds away from breaking down. I noticed it in Miami and I noticed it more in Silverstone. I was like, what is happening? Mercedes cooked.
Mercedes, the
Real.
upgrades that they brought, and they've started to sort out that car. Good on them.
Yes.
It was this weekend.
Finally.
Brake ducts and new updates to the front wing.
Front wing.
Kind of ate with that.
I think they've finally this is not in a bad oh, Lewis doesn't know what he was talking about, but I think they were listening to Lewis and Lewis literally didn't know what was wrong with the car. He was just like, it's a bad car. And I think George pays a little more attention of what is wrong with the car. Like he's driving and he's like, oh, it's a lot of understeer, it's a lot of oversteer, like my rears are really bad in this kind of track versus this track. And I think Mercedes finally has the feedback they need to fix the car, like Lewis did when he was younger. But Lewis had such a good car for years. He's like, I don't know what's wrong with the car. Like he hasn't had a bad car in forever, so he doesn't know how to tell them what's wrong.
He's just like, what the fuck is this shit heap?
You want to talk about shit heaps? There's a red car. There are 2 red cars.
We're
That
not talking
upgrade
about that.
absolutely wrecked them.
We're not talking about that.
Welcome to the team. Sincerely, an
I
Aston
think-
Martin fan.
I think McLaren have hired the Ferrari strategist because there's just no fucking way. What?
There yet, Rosie.
Oh,
We're not there yet.
but this.
Also,
Oh,
Lex, you can talk about it because it's your team, but Williams kind of was on fire this weekend.
This year.
Not this
Take it
year.
back a second. This race.
This
Small
race.
victories. We'll get there. FP1, Logan had no time, obviously, because Franco was in his car. Alex was doing fine. Franco, obviously, you're just there to collect the data. First time in the car, get the experience.
Alex was at the top of the times for a while in FP1. And I was like, wow, what upgrades did Williams bring? Because Alex is
None.
cooking. I know. I
Well,
think
We're
You're
just good on that
out.
track.
I think it's just Silverstone. They
it's the
make
home
a car
air.
for Silverstone.
It's the home air.
The home
That
air.
home air is a thing, everybody. It's a thing.
Especially here, I feel like it's just different.
I have never felt so patriotic. I'm American, but I've never felt so patriotic at a sporting event in my life.
Bro, you should have. This was me at the fan stage for Oscar. I was like, I feel so patriotic for Australia, and the Australians next to me started laughing. And I was like, in my little.
Can we talk about how the top 5 were literally like 3.3 seconds off of each other?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, real racing is back, folks.
Finally, some good fucking food. Finally, some good soup.
Good soup.
While we're still in the beginnings of the weekend, though, the Red Bull livery. What are our thoughts on that?
I'm not gonna lie. I was there in person, didn't see a difference.
I saw it and immediately thought, oh my god, they killed the Ferraris.
The name of the paint was what? It was like, what was it?
Something with the horse, I think.
Yeah, it was
like Mustang
a dig.
something.
It was a dig at Ferrari.
It was
like Stallion.
By the way,
like
Red Bull, if you're
like,
fighting
that's not your competition.
Ferrari, you've stepped down.
Which I
guess
technically
rivalry has gone too far. The Verstappen rivalry's gone too far.
Oh my god, they hit the Ferrari. They took him out.
You know what livery was that I actually really liked was Williams. I didn't like it at first, and then they were like, we have every single staff member on this flag. And I went, I like it.
I liked looking and like zooming in and finding people's names. Like I found Logan's, I found Jensen's, I found Alex.
When Jensen was so excited that his was on it.
Yeah, wow, a team that actually appreciates Jensen Button. A certain orange team couldn't bear.
My king, anyways. He said it was nice to meet me. Everyone move along.
Finally.
He did. All right. Is that it for FP1?
Yeah. I
All
think so.
FP2.
Jack doing always in my heart. Okay.
FP2.
FP2. I have to do it. Nico Hulkenberg was
on
something.
No. Yeah.
What was in the air?
As well.
What was in the air?
I'm giving him major props.
One of my
Okay, what happened to FP2? Let me pull up
my
phone.
Nico Hulkenberg. Can I tell you, I was dead asleep on that concrete. I woke up to the graphic, and then they showed me like P4, and I went, Hulkenberg.
Yeah,
if we're talking
several.
about Nico, one of my favorite stats that I heard over the weekend was, this is obviously like after the race, but the fact that Nico Hulkenberg in a Haas has scored more points in the last 2 races than Checo Perez has in a Red Bull in the last 6.
Guys, we got to root for Nico Hulkenberg.
That honestly,
I want him to keep the no podium strat because that's kind of funny. But you know what?
It's good. He's doing it. I don't.
He's hauling that Haas.
He always has been consistent. He just doesn't have a good car to back him up.
P3 in FP2.
Yes, in FP2. It was also announced during practice.
What they wanted him to do.
It was also announced in FP2 that Gasly would get a 50 grid
penalty.
Thing.
It didn't do much. He DNF'd anyway, so.
On the formation. No, he didn't DNF. He DNF'd. Did not start the race, bro.
My conspiracy theory brain went, what if this was a ploy? They know the race would be over. Why they just said, don't put the miles on the car. They just bring it back.
But McLaren won too.
Somewhere.
Finally. Woo dog. I love seeing those Ice Age.
Yeah.
What are they? Weasels?
Yeah.
What are the characters?
Possums?
Animals? I don't know.
Possums.
This is an Ice Age expert. They're possums.
Okay, those possums at the 1-2.
That's an Eddie, by the way.
Also in FP2, Charles was really struggling. He went off track a little bit. Said he was struggling in high speed too. Sliding a bunch.
Likely.
I mean, I just had to mention it. Love you, Charles.
Can we talk about V-Carb for a second? Inyuki was P16 and Ricardo was P19. I know
this was above Ricardo.
But
Look inside
but Yuki
America.
had just spun out like literally an hour before, and he outplaced his teammate. I'm just saying, put him in a Red Bull.
Give him a chance.
Give him a chance. But
let him go
Hamilton
wild.
too. Hamilton,
Mhm.
P6. Hamilton was very strong this weekend, and I think it's because it was the home crowd, and he knew it was his last home race in Mercedes with like his team he's been with since the beginning.
Well, the attendance for like Sunday was something like 165,000. So
it was, I could tell you it was 165,000. It felt like 165,000.
It really did.
I couldn't move. We had to climb over the fence to get out. But Max P7. Max was really bad this weekend.
He was struggling a little bit.
Not the
Yeah, he was
strays.
struggling.
Sorry, Max was really bad this weekend.
He was
Which
struggling
I kind of was like, thank God. Finally, somebody else is suffering. Like,
welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club, finally.
It was so funny, like, when I'd get back in the car and I'd look on Twitter and all the Max fans are like, what's wrong with the car? They've messed up the car. And I was like,
wow.
Join the party, guys. Like, finally. Finally.
Try being a fan of that red team next.
Try to be an Aston Martin fan.
Chat, y'all have points. Try to be a Williams fan.
I have a 2-time world champion who said, I'm happy with 32. After his entire career, he goes, I want a 33rd.
He's
given up. Anyways, Kevin Magnussen dead last.
And I smiled. And I smiled. Nothing for K-Mag.
Can I just say, if Haas ever thinks about re-signing K-Mag, I will laugh. Because if they were going to re-sign any of them, it should be Hülkenberg, because Hülkenberg at least does well. But he's doing Audi, so Haas needs to bring somebody else.
Oh my God,
I think aren't they talking about
bring back
Ocon,
Latifi?
maybe?
Yeah, okay, well.
Aren't they? Weren't there stuff about Esteban possibly doing Haas?
I've
heard Esteban to a bunch of places.
I heard Esteban everywhere, including WEC. So, you know.
You know who needs to hurry up and decide a seat on his own seat for my sake? Because every day I go on Twitter and it's just Carlos. Can you please pick a fucking team to go to?
Believe me, I am a crapshooter. I need him to decide.
I feel like he has his decision. He likes seeing us all suffer.
I'm wondering if he knows decision, but he's not saying it because they haven't announced they're not keeping the driver, and he doesn't want to do
but like, what can we just hurry it
happened
up,
to him in Ferrari.
Silly
well, then it's not his fault.
Silly season's like 3 weeks away. This is.
Anyway,
this is not.
What if they announce it on the race coming back? That's my birthday. Like if they announce, watch Carlos Sainz beat Haas. I just had a really bad thought.
My thoughts
either
are,
happy birthday, Lex, or
why are you alive, Lex? We wish you weren't.
Carlos to Williams and
a Logan drop on my birthday. I'm gonna be oh my god, oh my god.
It'll be happy death day and birthday to Lex.
Wow, my parents get to save money on the tombstone.
That's my
born and died.
My thoughts are, I wonder if he's waiting to hear out the Checo news.
That's what I'm thinking.
And kind of waiting for that big ball to drop before he drops another big ball.
Was Helmut Marko or Christian Horner, and I had just re-signed Checo, and Checo was getting worse, I'd be like, we gotta drop him. Because he's performing worse than Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon did in Red Bull, and they're keeping him. Oh. I'm wondering if they want to keep Checo because he's not a threat to Max, and they don't want to lose Max. Whereas, like, somebody like Yuki, Daniel Ricciardo, even Liam Lawson, like, Carlos Sainz, they'd actually want to fight Max.
But I think the thing is he's costing them big points in the championship. And now they're worried.
Constructors.
And so now they're worried. It
cannot be a one-man team.
Because McLaren, so Red Bull is only like 61 points ahead of Ferrari, and then McLaren are only 7 points behind Ferrari.
Yeah,
So-
Red Bull
McLaren?
currently has 373, Ferrari has 302, and McLaren currently have 295.
I have
So
a
Checo
feeling-
not scoring big points every weekend is not helping them at all.
I have a feeling Abu Dhabi is about to be the most insane race since 2021. Like, I have a feeling this championship's gonna go down to the last race.
And I'm
Because-
sad. Thank
Uh-huh.
fuck. Let it be.
Anyways,
Yep. All right, FP3.
FP3, we're only in FP2. That's crazy.
George Russell!
I think
Guys, can I just say, our entire section was cheering for Lewis Hamilton, and he was P1 for the longest time, and then George went to the top of the times, and Rosie and I screeched. Everyone looked at us, and I was like,
It would be around this time that George was doing his like slow lap, and I went, George! And he waved from his car. Anyways,
she was louder than me, everybody, I would just like to say.
Mox put in her earbuds
You're so
for
loud.
me rather than the car.
Anyways, Mercedes 1-2, we are so back.
I think
We are-
the FP3 really showed what the weekend was going to turn out to be with Mercedes.
Don't. I cried. I literally cried in the stands. Anyways, I really liked these practices because it wasn't a Red Bull domination.
Mhm.
Like, Red Bull wasn't
There was a
even on
Red
the
Bull
top.
in the standings once of the 3 practices.
And it wasn't Max.
Well,
It wasn't
in
Max.
Yeah, and it wasn't
FP3, because it was raining. That's when Max did the whole 360. Like
Yeah.
everybody was sliding
Yeah.
and like
Well,
off
that's
in
Yeah.
when that's when
FP3.
Pierre went into the gravel and it
Oh
was
yeah,
like
in
lag.
club, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Max did a full spin, and it was lucky that he did it on the wide part of the track. Otherwise, that would not have been
And-
recoverable.
Bottas had a spin as well, I believe.
Everybody was spinning.
Everyone was spinning. Everyone was
Yeah.
using that
Was having
one exit road.
problems.
And it was just a shame if you got caught on the gravel right before getting to the exit road.
Yep.
Guys, I have to say it. Williams 11 and 13. I love to see it.
I honestly think the British teams did so well. Aston Martin, I'm not looking at you, but every
team
other
based in
British team-
Silverstone, not you.
Can I tell you, I saw their compound literally leaving on Sunday. I went, stop the car. I'm going to fix the car right now. I need to go fix it right now. But every like British team did very well, and I think it was the atmosphere because there was like I had never seen so many orange and blue in my life. I was like, wow, this is like a really big Williams team.
I will
Like,
say it's getting harder to differentiate the Lewis neon yellow
and the
and
Lando.
the Lando neon yellow. Obviously, Lewis has been doing it for before Lando could talk, probably. But it's getting more jarring by the second.
But
yeah, it
What else
was.
happened in FP3? Let's see.
Gasly set no time, but we talked about that.
Yeah.
It
That
rained
Danny's
again.
still
Actually,
close to
Carlos was
bottom.
cooking.
P4.
Yeah.
P4.
Carlos was.
Woo-hoo.
Charles,
And then Max
so
was
sorry.
P5.
Can I just say, Max, every time Max complains, he's like, I have no grip. I can't, like, this car sucks. He gets really high. And I'm like, dude, put yourself in Haas for one day. I think we should do driver swaps for one race and see how Max does in, like, a Haas or a Williams.
No, put Max in the Ferrari.
No, don't put him in the Red Bull. Put Logan somewhere. Give him a good car.
Put Charles in the
I'll
Red
put Logan in
Bull.
the Aston Martin because it's a good car, but not a great
Is
car.
it?
It's better than Williams sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. But
No, put
Put
him in the
Logan
top
in the
performing
Haas.
car. I want to see
at
it.
this time, put him in a Haas. Specifically
Listen!
Hulkenberg.
Put him in.
Yeah, put him in
the
Hulkenberg.
American team.
I have nothing else for FP3.
Put Fred in the Mercedes. Put Logan and Ollie in the Haas. Job done. Keep Oscar in the McLaren, obviously.
you'll have to pry Lando's dead body from the McLaren. That man's not leaving that orange team. Everyone's like, he could go to Red Bull. And I'm like, okay, well, no. But
he's just doing what every other driver wants to do with the team, and they build a team around him. Yeah. It's what George wants to do with Mercedes. It's what
Hamilton did do with Mercedes.
It's what Hamilton did do with Mercedes.
It's what Charles wants to do with Ferrari.
Which is not happening with Lewis Hamilton as a teammate, but
that's Alex with the Williams.
I think it's
oh my gosh, I have a comment about that.
I think
but
Pierre's doing that with Alpine because
somehow.
I don't know how, but he's doing it with
Alpine. He's talked to a witch or something. Like, I genuinely don't know how he's convinced them. I'm not saying Ocon should do it. I'm just saying both of them kind of lie. They're not that good of drivers.
Well, you know, the French divorce is pretty rough on both of them, so.
You know who Alpine should build the team around?
Jack Doohan.
Exactly!
I knew it was coming.
Exactly. I love that song.
Put Jack and Abby in it.
No, put Jack
in the dream team.
That's okay. For a second.
I
talking about like free practices and everything.
I do not want Abby in Alpine. Excuse me? I want her in like Red Bull. Give her a really good car.
So you know how all of the teams have to, I think it's 3 sessions that they have to do with their academy or like development drivers. Mm-hmm. Is there a possibility of us seeing like Dorian or Abby in the car during a session? Or Leah? Oh my god, I could see Williams putting Leah in the car.
Yeah,
I think Williams might put Leah in.
I could see Williams putting Leah in 100%.
We gotta get Rick into that race.
It's their academy drivers. So like it's the junior drivers.
It's not just reserve drivers that they have to put in.
No, because Franco's not
any of that.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah,
Franco. It's
and
Hadjar
isn't one either. So
right, yeah, okay.
So get Leah in that car and get Rick in
Williams.
that
I think Williams could put Leah in. I don't. Unfortunately, I do not think Alpine is feminist. So I do not think we will be seeing Abby pulling in an Alpine.
I don't think it matters when she's as good as she is. Like,
but I don't
want someone good in their car.
Yeah, but I don't think Alpine. The French will be like, absolutely not.
Counterpoint. She's a woman, though. The French.
That's what.
And she's got them more points than their actual
I know.
drivers, so
yes,
I think. Sorry.
Two thoughts on this. The reason why I don't think I could see certain teams doing it if it was, but I think in the end, unfortunately, they are women. They are, this is F1, and as much as we're trying to pave that way, it's not going to change in the drop of a hat, like in a couple years, but like unfortunately. I could see certain teams, I could see Williams would totally put Leah in. I actually think Haas would put Chloe in. And I think McLaren would put Bianca in. And then, I don't know. I
think Mercedes may put somebody from F1 Academy in because of Toto Wolff and Susie. I think if anybody can convince a team, if Susie can convince any team to put a woman in, it would be Mercedes. Also because George is very active, and Lewis is too, but I don't think it's happening this year, which is why I'm just saying George. But George is very actively supporting F1 Academy girls, and it's not just Dorian. He's talked to Abby, he's talked to Maya, he's hung out with Leah, he's hung out with all the girls, and I think Aston Martin could put Jess Hawkins in. Because
I would like to point out as well that George is the head of the union for the drivers as well. So if they've got issues or whatever, they all go to George. And he raises them with the FIA.
And it's not just F1. It's F1, 2, 3, and F1 Academy.
Yeah. So George hanging out with them and developing a rapport and relationship with them is important because he's their union director. He raises issues, he keeps them safe, and the drivers voted for him to be union director as well, so they obviously all trust him to be good at his job. And he's been doing that since he was in the Williams. So he's been doing that for a long time now. So
He picked it up after
I
Grosjean
think-
left, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which is so funny to me that Roman
Grosjean.
Grosjean was
the union
the
director.
union director before George. Like, those are two exact opposite people.
I think even though there would be teams that would be open to having some of the academy girls in their cars for FP1 or whatever, I think in the end they're always going to have a reserve driver or something like that, because like they're who's more likely to get into their cars in the future first. And like that's like kind of the harsh reality is like, even though we are trying to pave the way of like the women, they're still further off from actually being a part of the team than like reserve
I
or
think-
F2 drivers. Or
The only woman I think I could see in a car this year is Jess Hawkins, because she has driven Alonso's car already. Fernando Alonso has a lot of respect for Jess Hawkins, and I think a two-time world champion having respect for a girl goes a long way in this sport. Like Lewis having respect for women and saying, like, all it takes is all of us during the whole Red Bull situation, like him speaking out for women, like he is a big reason of why F1 Academy is doing so well, because he's supporting Susie and he's speaking out and saying, like, these girls work just as hard, probably even harder than us. Like, it goes a long way to have somebody who's respected in the sport, not just like a rookie or somebody who's won 1 or 2 races, speak up and say, hey, these girls are really good. But that is my take on women getting into a sport.
I just don't think this year we'll see it happen. Maybe next year, maybe the year after. I think it'll come. I just don't know if this year is going to be that year. But I would love to see it happen. I'd love to see.
It should happen.
I would love to see them put some of the F1 Academy girls that they support in a car and for FP1. But
Anyway, shall we move on to quali?
Yeah.
So
All right, quali, everybody.
Q1.
I'm not doing the Q numbers, guys. I refuse.
She
One, it
said,
was
I will pick my
dry.
battles, and that is not one of them.
Gasly
And
dead last, even though
Well,
That was
okay,
expected.
my brain went, why is he still participating in qualifying when we know where he's going to start?
I think they have to, don't they?
I think they have to, because if you don't get into quali, you don't race.
Yeah.
I think
Like
that's
you
a
have
rule.
to set a time no matter what.
I see. Well,
And that's why when like a
This
lap
is
time
was
gets
also-
deleted,
By the way, the 50 grid penalty, he was still dead last before the 50 grid penalty. He
in
set the slowest time.
Q1, this is where Checo went off at Cops Corner. And then
he was
like-
out.
and he was like, why can't they pull me forward?
He was begging
Bro,
for them
'cause
to push him. Like, that's not how this works. And
that's not
his
how it works.
engineer went on to the radio and being like, we cannot do that. That's like assistance. We
We
can't
had to
do that.
explain the rules to him
like,
why you
you
can't be
kidding
pushed
me?
back out. I'm like,
The commentators were clowning him. And you know what? Rightfully so. Asking
Lewis
for a
went
push. Get out of
fastest.
here. What do you
Lewis
think
went
this is?
fastest then in Q1, which was the crowd. The crowd was so loud when
We have
Lewis
to
went
say it.
fastest.
We have to say it. V-Carb and Williams, both cars made it out of.
and for the first time this year, is it this year? Joe was above Bottas and
Yeah.
outqualified Bottas for the first time this
Yeah.
season.
Yeah,
Logan
Joe
next,
went
Logan
P8.
next.
Joe went P8, so he made it to Q2. But out in Q1 were both Alpines.
Likely. Anyways.
Checo,
Likely,
Likely.
anyways.
K-Mag.
That's
And
Miami
Bottas.
karma.
I actually think K-Mag.
speaking of Miami
getting
karma,
worse.
Logan's radio.
Megan, why?
I-
Why?
I just-
He started
I had
it.
to bring it up. I had to bring it up. I'm
I
sorry.
am so proud. Logan Sargent, you will always have a fan in May. In May. I'm so proud of you.
All
Two.
I had for Q1, and I don't know why I have this written down or what happened. All I have written down is Stroll ran red light, end of pit lane.
Oh,
Impeding. There was an impeding incident in
No,
Q1,
no.
I think.
no, okay. The
No,
red
it
light. It was a wasn't there a red flag for Checo?
No.
No.
Or yeah, there was a red light
There
somewhere.
was a-
It was in,
for
it was
somewhere.
in, it was in,
No,
yeah.
this was Lance Stroll. This was Q1 because I remember
didn't that
seeing a tweet
happen
about it.
in
There was some red flag or yellow flag, something about the pit lane being closed. And-
Here. I found
It happened in FP3 though, right? And they just talked about it and
Yeah, I think it was Alonso
Qualifying.
and Stroll impeding each other.
She's got it.
I
She's
found
got it.
It said as the whole Perez thing was going on, it says a queue of drivers formed to the pit lane to await the resumption of Q1, with everyone keen to get their laps in prior to any further showers. And just as the pack headed out with 7 minutes remaining, it looked like the rain was indeed on the way as fans in the grandstands reached for their ponchos. There was trouble for Stroll, who has
Tell me
set to
about
be investigated after the session for leaving the pit exit on a red light, while the pit lane incident involving both Stroll and Alonso was noted.
No, okay. The incident.
And that was that.
The incident actually was them speeding in the pit lane. I literally was like, I need to find where the FIA is this weekend because I need to go knock on their door and be like, listen, these two have suffered enough. They're in an Aston Martin. Give them a break. Their speeding is the freaking speed of the Alpines. Please give them a break. Anyways.
That's all I had for Q1.
Then in Q2,
Logan
I-
Sargent!
Charles
Anyways.
Leclerc is out!
we don't need to talk about that.
And Carlos Sainz is through, baby. You want to know who was knocked out by? Fernando
I
Alonso.
was starting at the start. Alex Albon was the first person out in Q2.
Rosie was like, he's P1. And I was like, no, he's just out.
I was taking
Stop the clock!
I was
Stop
taking
the
the
race!
W's while they were there.
Bring out the
'cause
podium!
They didn't send anyone else out for ages.
No, they didn't. We were sitting there. I think they were waiting for the rain because it was like a sprinkle, like it was a mist.
Yeah, and we were like,
all right, where is everybody? And I think on their radars, we didn't have commentators because the speakers were like really muffled. We couldn't hear. But I was like,
they
why
didn't
are they waiting?
really turn them on. They didn't really turn them on for practice.
No.
So we just had to kind of guess.
I turned on F1 TV for that because I was like, where the hell is everybody? And then I went on to F1 TV and they were showing the radar. I was like, oh, they're waiting for rain, which never came. Likely. But the Mercedes were cooking this entire qualifying.
Likely. For once.
So were the
And,
McLarens.
Yes. Yes, they were.
Thank God.
And then, yeah, Lando went fastest in Q3.
As he should.
Not Q, in Q2 even. And then knocked out was both recarbs. Joe
Likely.
got knocked. And then Charles and Logan also got knocked out.
Logan being
Logan
P12.
Logan was only 7/100ths of a second off of a Ferrari.
But
Also,
And
he
he was
was-
dragging that tractor.
I also feel like Logan, when I was watching quali, I feel like he was impeded a lot and they just didn't bring it up. But I feel like he couldn't get a clean lap in.
yes, actually, talking about clean laps in qualifying,
Here it goes.
that fucking orange garage. Don't piss me off. They sent Oscar out too late, too close to Carlos. He couldn't get his clean lap in properly because he was too close. He could have been a lot higher in the qualifying than he was. But that stupid orange team don't know they've got a 3-time champion, back-to-back champion on their hands already. So honestly, Zach Brown, you're pissing me right off.
Likely.
I had,
But also Alonso made it. Thank God. By the grace of God.
yeah, 'cause
Alonso made it.
the track was too close for him not to. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, yeah.
Also, Nico Hulkenberg made it.
Listen.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
I know that Nico Hulkenberg is good because he was in Renault and like he's been in the sport for so long. However, Haas hasn't been very good, so he hasn't really shown how good he is recently. And then now he's finally back to showing how good he is. And everyone's like, where the heck did that come from? And I'm like, he drove an Aston Martin and was good. Like, he's actually quite good. He is
I
annoying.
think it's kind of giving at the moment Max and Checo, because you have one driver way up and then you've got the other one way down.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy.
Nico
Like, poor
Hulkenberg to Max
Haas, because
Verstappen is
I
insane.
actually
That was a crazy comparison. True, but crazy in comparison.
I think if Haas had two really good drivers, they could actually be a little bit higher on the constructors.
they've
If
got
you
a,
could-
they've got a
they
decently
have-
good driver and then one who loves playing for a team.
They
Who
have
lets rules
the
go out the
fifth-
window.
They have
when the team
fifth
game is
fastest
involved.
car now, and
So-
they'll have.
We're not talking
Sorry.
about who has the fastest car, okay? We don't
Sorry.
like the article that came out about that.
And then Ollie will be in the car next year, so all good things.
Yeah.
Go Ale.
But can I just say, Hamilton and Norris were going back and forth between P1 for the entire session. And I was like, everyone was like, ah, when Hamilton went, and then Lando went, and some McLaren fans cheered, and then Hamilton went back up, and literally everyone in the stands cheered, and then like Lando went back up. And Rosie and I was like, we are keeping an eye on RUS. We are keeping it. We are manifesting a George P1. We are manifesting it. And all of a sudden, literally like 6 seconds to go, Russell P1. I think we were the loudest people in
Oh my!
Silverstone.
I think the grandstands went deadly quiet, apart from the few like Mercedes fans who support them both. I think probably like Lynn and Haley could have heard us from where they were sat, because
And like,
so
I
that's
know
my
that people,
King George.
there are people who don't like George Russell. I get it. However, his drive, he has been driving so freaking well. Like Austria, everyone's like, oh, he won because Lando and Max took each other out, but he would have still been on the podium.
Yeah.
And he had to literally keep so many cars behind him, a Ferrari, a McLaren behind him to get that podium. He drove so well, nobody actually cares, because they're like, well, he wouldn't have won. Like, okay, but
his
he did.
His drive
He still
was
would have been
clean.
P3.
His drive was
And
clean in Austria.
the
His
same
drive
with
was clean this
Silverstone.
weekend. I just think people
People
do
just
not
don't
put
like
enough,
him. And
people
it's just,
do not put enough respect on his name.
there's a reason Total Wolf kept him as a Mercedes driver. He's Mercedes' most successful junior driver ever.
To
Ever.
date. He's also F2 champion because he matched the record that Charles set.
Unlike people
Um,
he also is Lewis Hamilton's teammate. Like, everyone's like comparing him to Lewis Hamilton, which nobody else is going to be Lewis Hamilton. So sorry to Max Verstappen fans, but Max Verstappen is not Lewis Hamilton. He won't ever be. He never will be. But
nobody's going to be Lewis ever again.
Like, the closest you're going to get from Mercedes to get another Lewis is George Russell, because at least he drives clean. He knows how to drive. He knows how to work the car, and he was the most successful junior driver they've ever had.
I'm aware that the Lewis bootlicking from me just sounds because I'm British, but there's actually, like, after this weekend especially, Lewis has set the bar. Like, his next podium will be his 200th. So I just think, really as well, just.
I will say, however, there were so many George Russell fans at Silverstone. I was like, finally, I have found my people.
You know which George Russell fan I've been loving seeing? That little boy
Oh,
from China
Yes.
is the most precious thing.
He was the first
screaming
person
at the
I saw.
TV, him just going, Judge! I'm like, yeah, real. You yell for your favorite driver child. Start them young.
Oh my God, chat.
And George loves him.
Anyways, back to the qualifying. Are we done with qualifying?
I'm done.
Okay.
Did we
race
even
time.
talk about Q3 at all?
Yeah. George Cole. Next.
George
George
Cole.
Cole.
Mercedes
Okay.
lockout.
We are
Oh my
back,
God.
baby.
Logan
Anyways.
and Charles on the same row is insane to me personally.
Is there anything you
Alright.
have to add about Q Fever again?
I don't think so. I just don't remember. Like, I just kind of blacked out. It's fine. Like, I couldn't remember if we talked about it or not.
It kind of
Alright.
got put like merged with Q2 a little bit. And kind of just
Oh,
kind of.
I actually got one.
She said, actually.
Last time there was a Brit top 3 was South Africa in 1968.
I was gonna say, you know it's old because
So-
South Africa's not on the calendar anymore, and then you said the year, and I said, point proven.
Yeah. Yep.
19.
The race.
The
race. The race. Okay, I would. So first of all,
Gasly.
DNF.
Anyways,
Yeah.
moving on.
Okay, can I just say that I saw him going into the pits, and I was like, oh no, like this
That
is a
was so
formation
modest.
lap.
She said, oh no.
Oh
And I was
no.
like, oh no, what's happening?
I thought-
like,
Oh,
I thought it was like
no.
instead of starting from the back of the grid, he's gonna start from the pit lane because
Yeah.
too.
like
Didn't someone
that's like
start
his
from the pit
50
lane?
grid pet.
Checo did.
Deco did.
Yeah, how
Checo did.
insane
So
is
it
that?
moved
That
here to
Gasly
from
had a
P78
50 whatever,
to
went to
P19.
19, and then didn't even start the race.
At least Logan, when he had his promotion, he still ran the race. Come on.
But we didn't have the commentary, so all I saw was Gasly going into the pit lane. I was like, oh, like he's just gonna, start from the pit lane. Maybe that's like his 50 grid penalty. But then when the race started, literally there was only one Alpine on track, and I texted my dad. I went, "Why is there only one Alpine driving?" And he goes, "Gasly's done."
Like, bro, it's not even lap 1 yet. And then,
But-
oh, I will note from lap 1, George had engine issues from the beginning. So,
We didn't know, by the way.
yeah,
Nobody in the stands knew, but George, it didn't seem like he had engine issues. And then all of a sudden, like on the announcements, it's like,
he
George
dropped.
Russell retires from the race. And everyone in the grandstand went, what the?
I mean, to be fair, I didn't know either until after, like a lap or two after he
Yeah.
retired. I didn't know what happened. I saw
Which-
him go, and I was like, what just
Like
happened?
everybody was so
Wasn't-
upset. And then they were like, yeah, like his car could have exploded. I went, you know what? I am glad he DNF'd. I am glad
See-
he's still alive.
I would like to add as well, he wasn't driving like he had engine issues. He wasn't driving like his car was about to blow up, and he stayed in front for a long time, considering like he kept
know who
Lewis
was-
behind him.
Who was driving like their usual self, which we hadn't seen in forever? Lewis Hamilton.
Yes.
Like, I definitely think the crowd helps. You know how everyone's like, oh, in sports, like home team advantage works. I think home
There is
race
home
advantage. Like,
Maybe
He-
not for Logan Sargent.
he, but like Lewis was driving like he was about to win a championship. Like, it was actually so impressive. I also think the McLarens were doing very well because of their home. Aston Martin, don't look at me.
Hang on. Do not say their home. Oscar Piastri very clearly did not claim.
No, I'm
Britain.
saying McLaren as the team is British. It's their home race.
Unfortunately.
Also,
No.
Williams did very well.
Oh, okay. Because the fight at the front for the first, like, what, 5 positions or so was so intense, a lot of the coverage for the lower battles was not shown. And Alex and Logan were fighting the entire time, and it got no notes. Alex
We
was
saw
fighting
it.
Yuki, was fighting the Haas. Logan is fighting God,
I saw
if everything.
Yuki overtake Alex. I went, uh-oh. And then Alex immediately overtook Yuki. I went, oh yeah.
now
I
now
was
we
like,
talking.
Yuki, I do support you, but not this race.
I would first of all, okay, this is the only note on it. It's the only note we're gonna make. Ferrari told Charles the wrong information and then pit him and switched him for the wrong tires.
Likely. Anyways.
Likely thing for Ferrari to do.
Yes. Anyways, talk about
also-
McLaren. No,
Also,
we're
can we
gonna
talk about
McLaren.
McLaren?
strategy.
Can we talk about McLaren asking Lando what he wants to do, even though they're the strategists?
insane.
Hold on, pause. Can we? There was still something on lap 1 I want to talk about.
Okay.
So I don't want to jump too far ahead.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at some notes from the F1 app. Like I'm like doing like a little replay here because it's been a while. And we had a nice little radio from Logan basically saying that some body work was coming off Alex's car.
Alex, yeah.
You know why?
And
Do we know what that was?
the
Yes, we
lovely
do.
Haas returned onto the circuit ahead of
Nico was
Alonso,
off. Yeah.
which caused Alonso to then hit Alex.
He is innocent. This is like Mexico 2023. Thank you very much. And everyone's like, Charles was innocent. He had nowhere else to go. So Alonso's innocent. But I will say they played that radio over the thing. And I was like, I just heard Logan's voice and says body work. And I was like, who hit Logan?
Alex
then-
did a little
and
bit.
then
I was actually very afraid that Alex was gonna have a puncture or something, and I was like, "Oh my god,
I
no,
was
we can't,
so
literally we cannot do this." I was
was-
so afraid.
I was
he pushed
watching
through.
the Williams app like updates, and like Williams had tweeted, it was just like Alex is reporting like a puncture, and I said it's over, and then like a minute later they respond with like a thread, false alarm, let's go racing. Are you kidding me? The emotional turmoil I had experienced, and then Logan reporting what? Oh my god, do I have words? Yeah, Logan had a big piece of bodywork come off. Not Logan. Alex said that. No,
Logan
can't
said that
think.
about Alex.
Logan said
That's
that
the
about
one.
Alex.
that's the one.
I think this made for a really interesting race because it was raining right before they went on. So like for the F2, F3 races, it was
Mhm.
downpouring. When I say downpouring, I mean
They
literally.
had to
Where's
postpone
that
F3,
picture?
right?
Where's that picture of me?
I had a rain jacket on, I had 2 sweatshirts, and I had a shirt on, and my shirt was sopping wet. Like that's how wet it was. And then it dried. It was super sunny, and then it started sprinkling again for F2. And so like the track was wet, but it wasn't wet enough for like wet tires, but it wasn't wet enough either for inters, but it was wet enough to have soft, hard, and medium tires be a little bit slippy. So I think that made for a very interesting like first few laps because all the drivers, I could tell all the drivers were very like cautious around the corners because they didn't want to slide out. Except Yuki. Yuki did not care, which worked for him. Which was really impressive. Like every driver was going so slow around corners and he was like, "Whoom!" I was like, all right, King. Anyways,
I'm like trying to see what was next.
Have too many
can we
notes.
talk about the tire strategy for a second with McLaren because I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I'm not a
yeah.
McLaren girl. I'm not really either McLaren girl, but I think it was very stupid of McLaren to go onto the radio to Lando and say, "What tires do you want?"
Not
Which
just
Andrea
Lando.
Stella
Hang on,
has
hang on.
admitted that it was all on them and that it wasn't Lando's fault. It
was
was
both of them.
a lack
It
of
was-
judgment.
I just
It
think
was
it was
both of
so
them.
stupid. Yeah. Lando was first, and then they came on to Oscar and said, like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "What? You're doing it to both of your drivers? Like, what?"
Well, they also
No. I would like they asked Oscar if he would like to pit when Lando pit, and he said yes to the double stack, and then they ignored him and sent him round for one more lap, which put Oscar in danger of like losing positions or whatever, and just not really safe to drive on the track. And then when they pit him, they were like, "Oh, what tires do you want?" And he said mediums, and Lando obviously went soft, but it still shouldn't be up to either of them.
also they were also asking Oscar for feedback so they could choose what tires to put Lando on, and then completely did the opposite.
also,
Which, by
But
the
also,
way,
you shouldn't be asking. In my opinion, you shouldn't be asking the other driver for like. Obviously, you should be asking for their purposes, but I don't think you should be asking
for someone
about
else.
their tire for their
Yeah.
teammate because it's
There's
not going to be the
also-
same.
Also, there's a difference. You know how like Alex was like, I don't know if this is gonna help Logan's race, and then he went on to like say this is what's happening. Like it's different saying like, okay, Alex, can you give any more feedback for Logan versus two drivers that are obviously fighting for a podium and points, asking Oscar, hey, what do you think about these tires? Knowing Lando's a completely different driver and has different opinions, and then completely ignoring the suggestions Oscar
and
gave
also
them
on
anyways.
a completely different race in terms of position. Like you're going to fight for different people, so you shouldn't be going off of who Oscar's fighting versus who Lando needs to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not.
Also, the race pace stats that came out afterwards, Lewis was fastest like throughout the race, and then it was Oscar who was fastest, and then Max, and then Lando. So if we were doing a podium on race pace, it would have been Lewis, Oscar, Max on the podium.
But you're also going off of different tires.
But I think that's it shows how McLaren fucked up their race, because they could have easily have had two drivers on the podium, especially if they were looking at the data and knew that Oscar was faster. They could have put him in front and made him give Lando DRS. They could have had two on the front, especially when Lando started struggling on his softs. If it had been managed properly,
at one point
Lando,
they definitely could have, when it was Lando Oscar, if they could have just gotten that strategy right at the beginning, 100% would have had
when
both McLarens on podium.
When Lando was starting to struggle with his tires, Oscar was already like 4 seconds behind Lando, and they couldn't tell Lando to slow down because Max was catching up. And so they just kept Lando there, and it was a bad strategy the entire race, which is why they lost the double podium.
But also, sorry, I want to yap on about this man. On the second pit stop, Oscar gained like 10 seconds between like from changing his tires. So I think if they'd managed the pit stops properly, he would have been on the podium.
I think in the end, you should ask your drivers what they think. They're the ones that are out in the car. They can feel things. But in the end, the pit wall has all the data, and they can use what they get from the drivers to then make the executive decision. And in the end, they messed up with that decision. They admit it. They say, we'll try better. And there's nothing
I just want to
do at this point.
I just want to say also, there's a difference, because people, like when people were calling out and saying like, oh, McLaren was so bad at that for this reason, and people were like, yeah, well, like Carlos Sainz said, get me softs, or Fernando Alonso was like, get me in wet tires right now, I need wet tires. Lewis Hamilton was like, shut up, I know what I'm doing on my soft tires. It's completely different with experienced drivers coming on, and I'm not saying Lando's not experienced, but I mean in the sense, if Lewis is like, I know what I'm doing, he's a 7-time world champion. He's been in this car for years. Of course he knows what he's doing. Fernando Alonso knows the tracks better probably than anybody else because he's the oldest on the grid. He's been the longest on the grid. Versus Lando, who's on the radio and he's like, I don't know, maybe softs. It's a completely different. You can't compare Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton to Lando Norris.
But you're also...
And also, Lando's not coming onto the radio when McLaren's silent saying, I need these tires. McLaren's coming onto the radio going, what do you want?
But you're also asking somebody who's fighting for a win.
Yeah.
And he's obviously going to say he wants to go after the person in front of him. But then you, on the strategy wall, need to look at the person who's behind him and say, no, we need to use these tires to defend against Max.
Yeah.
And then potentially you might be able to go for the win, but at least we're going to be in P2 instead of P3. Like, I truly, I don't know, like, it's really kind of, it's just messed up. Like,
Also, it's McLaren are now fighting for the top positions rather than positions in the midfield, whereas, like, Lewis knows how to fight for the positions in the midfield. He's famously good on bad tyres, Silverstone 2020 on 3 tyres. He knows how to drive on tyres that are fucked up, and unfortunately for Lando, he does not have. There's a 12-year difference in experience there, and also like what
I think
the
also
second they were on the same set of tires, I was like, Lewis is winning.
yeah, I think also it was really funny in the stands for everybody. We were surrounded by McLaren fans. Most of them were Lando fans, and they were rooting for
Don't piss me
Lando.
off.
They were rooting for Lando, and there was, I think it was like, it was an older man. I don't know if he was right behind us or direct, like somewhere, but I heard him going, "Why are they asking the driver who's actively just trying to keep the car on the track in the position it's supposed to be in any data?" Like, it's so stupid to me that McLaren's the one with all the data, and they're like, Lando, what do you want? With absolutely no, like, okay, Max behind on these tires, Lewis has these tires, Max is this many seconds behind, what are you feeling? Like, they just went, what do you want? It was, and I know McLaren was like, yeah, that was on us, but like, McLaren really ruined their race for them, which I feel like is now going to the issue for McLaren, because McLaren now has a car to fight for a championship. For drivers, they have two very good drivers. They have drivers who both want to win the championship, and now McLaren doesn't seem to have the pit wall to back them up. That's my opinion on the McLaren strategy.
Not a bad
It's
strategy
awful.
in terms of pit wall, or not pit wall, pit stops. Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like,
Alex
what?
they had to they double stack for both pit stops, to my knowledge.
Why?
First one, Alex had a long stop.
Yeah.
Fucked Logan up. Second one, coming after, I think it was going off of the inters, going onto their slicks. They had them out one lap too long, and then they sent them back for the pit and for the slicks, and then boom. I think they cost us loins. It would have been the American, what is it, the 500th point?
500.
From an American on 4th of July weekend. Racing for a British team.
You know who had a very good strategy, and I think it's because they know how to drive in the rain? Carlos Sainz.
Carlos Sainz and Ricky's commentary on like rain levels astounds me.
I thought you meant like Danny Rick for a second. I was like, I've definitely missed something here.
No, I think Carlos Sainz knows what he's doing in the rain, and I think he's one of the few drivers who actually knows what to do when people are like, it's gonna rain in 2 minutes, and he's like, okay, just leave me out, I'll see what I can do. The only other person who's like that is Fernando Alonso, and I think it's because they both grew up on the same track that's notorious for rain and cold and being miserable while you're driving.
Speaking of Carlos, he got fastest lap.
Yes, he did, because they put him on tops at the end.
Can I be honest? I saw him going in the pits at the very
end. I was scared.
And I said,
I texted you and I was like, God, please no.
This is we were like, this is not the car that we are wanting
the entire
get out
of the race with Logan in P11. Like, Logan's P12, and I'm like, I need 2 cars out. George leaves. I need 1 car out. And I see Carlos go into the pit lane. I text Tay, God forbid. I was so scared. And he went right back out.
They showed that on the big screen, and I went, uh-oh.
I literally was like, what did I miss?
I turned to Ollie and I went, uh-oh. And he goes, what is it? And I go, it's Ferrari. That's all I said. But they didn't screw him up.
He stole fastest lap from Oscar in the last few laps. So
likely.
Yeah, fastest lap was
driver
Carlos,
of the
and
day.
Then Oscar. Lewis
was Lewis.
Woo! Deserved.
My God.
Well,
also, can I just say now, like at the end of the race, he like came to every single corner and waved, and it was actually I was sobbing my eyes out, but it was the atmosphere when we heard Lewis Hamilton crosses the line to win the British Grand Prix.
He goes down the Hamilton Straight. Lewis Hamilton drives down the Hamilton Straight to win the.
Everybody in our grandstand was sobbing.
It was
trust the tears in the Hamilton household.
People were in Alonso gear and Max gear sobbing. Like
Like-
literally not one person in that grandstand.
I don't know anybody that could be mad over Lewis winning this
Yeah.
race. Like, I think it was genuinely deserved.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely
I'm
deserved
also-
so much.
So happy he got to bring Bono to the podium
That was nice.
because that's his last home race with Bono.
It's his last race. This is his last season with Bono. So, as well, and then just I don't know. It's just something so like nice about it. Like I'm glad if it wasn't George, if it couldn't be George, then it was Lewis. And then I just think that something so nice about watching Lewis like win it back, and his like the speech after, which Jensen.
Oh my gosh, Jensen crying.
He was like Lewis's speech saying he didn't think he was like ever gonna win again, and like
And Jensen went, I knew you had one more. I was like, I'm gonna cry. I'm so glad it was Jensen and not Nico Rosberg. Everybody wanted Nico Rosberg.
That would have been
and I was
crazy
like, no.
though, because Nico was rooting for him. He's
I know. He broke the Rosberg curse.
Also,
exactly. Get him in there.
I sent Mox this TikTok, but Nico Rosberg got the shuttle to Silverstone with like the normal, like the fans.
Like Haley could have gotten a shuttle with Nico Rosberg.
That's the most
Oh,
Nico
to be a
thing
fly
I've
on the
ever
wall on the
seen.
shuttle that Nico Rosberg took to Silverstone.
But
Like, bro, do you not have your own Mercedes or
also,
something?
can we also talk about how Red Bull once again tweeted that they got the fastest pit stop of F1?
They got it off the race, but not.
I was like, Red Bull, we need to get our facts straight. I don't like McLaren, but McLaren still has it.
I bet it's a template that they just copy and paste. It's a tweet. It's a shortcut, and they just haven't edited it.
They need
But-
to add race.
Before we finish, can I also say kudos to Nico, not Rosberg, Nico Hulkenberg for P6.
P6
Yeah.
in the fucking black Ferrari, in the black painted Ferrari.
He also, I was reading this article and they were like, Nico Hulkenberg could have gotten a podium. Haas apparently did a really bad pit stop strategy thing for him and ruined it, but he could have gotten P3, which I was like, that would be actually insane. If we got a Hamilton win and Nico Hulkenberg P3.
First podium.
It's crazy.
I'd be like, I need to go to every race.
Hulkenberg dominance would bore fans.
But
I mean,
that's all I have.
You guys could see the cool down room, but we couldn't. So explain
Oh my
the cool
gosh.
down room. I just interesting top three, I think, as well.
I think that's the top three. That could have been the top three championship contenders if Mercedes got their stuff together.
It was
Yeah.
literally the 2023 Silverstone podium just mixed up.
Yep.
Okay, wrapping up the race, I have a few fun facts about Lewis's race and win and whatever. Obviously it was his 9th win at Silverstone, which is now the most ever race wins in Silverstone. And it's his 104th win, hasn't won since 2021. We all know that. It was his 150th podium with Mercedes, which is insane. And he is the first ever driver to win a race after their 300th race start, and the first ever driver to win a race 17 years after their first win. Which
I'm actually crying. Oh my god, he makes me so proud to be British. Not to be like, I mean that in like a good way, not in like a historically British way.
I also have a fun fact that might like ruin the mood for one of us. That now
It's definitely me. It's definitely me and
Max.
Fernando Alonso. Yep.
Yeah, Max is now ahead of both Prost and Alonso for the most podiums with 101
Aston Martin,
podiums.
I
So
beg you, with everything that I have, to get Adrian Newey. I beg.
I don't know, he looks pretty good in orange.
You guys are insane. He's coming
Yeah,
home to Williams.
Funny
He's out
fact,
there.
because
It's coming home.
Adrian Newey has said time and time again he missed the opportunity to work with Fernando Alonso, and if he ever got the chance, he'd jump on it.
Did we forget how good of a sweet talker James Vowles is? He can
Real.
pull something out his ass. I know it.
Valtteri, it's
James, bring him to us. Bring him home.
Adrian,
Let's build that rocket ship.
it's James.
Also, but we can also rule out that he is not going to Ferrari.
Thank God.
Phew! Well, everyone, that's our wrap-up recap of Silverstone and more. Fair to say we've had pretty good conversation beyond Silverstone. We've got all of our cars on display. Go, everybody. Congratulations to Lewis for securing that 9th home win, record-breaking. We all were cheering for you. It was eventful, no doubt. On my end, loins were on the table, and we'll get them soon, I trust. Where there's a Williams, there's a way. Perhaps there was a Williams still, and there is still a way. But we've got a special recap coming up from one and only Rosie Mox, recounting the trials and tribulations of their Silverstone experience. But signing off from now, we will see you guys. Where are we heading next? Hungary! Oh my gosh, just a note for the audience and for you guys. Hungary marks my 1-year anniversary of being an F1 fan. Like, that was my first race. So yeah, it's gonna be nice fun times. Catch y'all later. Bye.
Bye. Haley should be here, but she's watching Taylor Swift right now, so.
All right for Sam.
Yeah. Should we start Monday? Should we do the entire week? Okay, so starting on Monday, so Rosie and I last year went to Puma in London, got clocked immediately as F1 fans, which was actually humiliating and embarrassing. But
extremely embarrassing.
He was like, the Mercedes drivers are going to be here next year for Silverstone. And we were like, huh? So the first order of business we did at the Puma store, when I landed, we went to the Puma store and asked around, and he went, it was a ticketed event. And I was like, yeah, I know. I had to bid money on it, and I bid a total of £5 because that's what I had. I obviously didn't win. But he's like, you can come stand outside. George will come outside. So we went, heard, what time is it at? And he went, well, it was Wednesday at 6 p.m. or 4 p.m. or something. And I was like, oh, shoot, that's right when we're meeting Jensen Button.
Yes. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen originally. So we went to
I would just like everyone to know. I knew it was going to happen because I have my ways. AKA, I talk to people until I get what I want.
Okay, so we went to the Williams fan zone to line up for the Q&A.
Not on Monday.
I'm not talking about Monday.
Wait, we're going in order. In Monday. Okay. Then we went to Selfridges and saw Fernando Alonso's crash kit car.
Oh, and Charles's helmet, everyone.
Yeah,
it was there. And blah, blah, blah. And George's race suit was there.
Yeah. And Michael Schumacher's helmet, like actual helmet. That was it for Monday. So Tuesday, Williams fan zone opened.
We were there. Can I just say we came out the tube and it was like right there, and then we went
with the exact opposite direction. But we found it eventually, and we
lined up.
There were 3 cars. We didn't line up. We didn't have to line up this day. There's no Q&As. No, we just walked right in. We did all of the badges because if you've ever been to a Williams fan zone, you have to like scan these badges, and you get like a, I don't know, put into a meet and greet, whatever it is. And so we did that, and we saw cars, and I was trying to find somebody I saw from Miami or the car launch, saw the admin, said hi. She was running around, so I didn't want to interrupt her. And then there was this guy who was talking about like the dates and what's happening when, and I was like, I'm going up to him. So I went up to him and I was like, hi. So Jensen Button, how are we going to meet him? And he's like, I was like, she is the number one Jensen Button fan talking about Rosie. And I was like, I have already met him, but I want Rosie to meet him. And he goes, come find me tomorrow. I'll give you a wristband. And I was like, what? I really didn't think it was going to work that quickly.
Turns out that guy we spoke to is
Was the head of fan
all
engagement.
all William fan zones.
You're welcome, everybody. He was great.
Everybody, just me. I'm welcome.
And so I was like, can I just go up with her because I'm concerned she's gonna get a bloody nose.
For the audience, that's not a joke.
That's not a joke. Every time she sees an attractive man, she gets a bloody nose. Okay, so
one time.
Charles and Chris Evans.
2 times.
So I was concerned, and he's like, no, you can't come up. Like, you've already met him. It's for fans who haven't met him. I'm like, okay, that's totally fine. Like, I totally understood that. And then we ran around trying to find Rosie an outfit. The next day was the Logan Q&A and the Jensen and Alex Q&A and George Russell at Puma. We had a packed day. So
Lewis was also there.
Yeah, but they said Lewis wasn't going to be there, so we thought it was just George.
Yeah.
We lined up. There was a huge line, but it was like going to be the first 150, and I was like, we definitely made it. There were girls in front of us and girls behind us. And I was like, I have to talk to them. And Rosie's like, don't talk to them. I was like, I have to talk to them. Talked to the girls in front of us for a little bit. They were not passing the vibe check. However, the girls behind us passed the vibe check.
So
Jules and Dev.
Jules and Dev. And it turns out I was actually already mutuals with Jules on Twitter. We're in the same group chat, and she goes, I think we already know each other. She was like, I know a Rosie on Twitter who likes Oscar, and I was like, oh god, oh, here we go. It's so embarrassing.
They were following each other.
Yes, we were. I just saying, considering I have less than 400 followers on Twitter, I got recognized by way too many people in there. Pack that up, guys.
But anyways, we also had our friend Lynn meeting us, and she wasn't there yet. And I was like, just pretend you were in the bathroom. Dev and Jules did not care, though. Shout out to them. Love them very much. But we all got wristbands. We got the Logan Q&A and the Alex Q&A because you had to do wristbands. We saw the guy, and he was like, here are 2. I just don't want to break the 2 up. So I got a Jensen meet and greet.
I'll actually get the wristband out. So
oh, I have them right here. Which one's which?
So I think Alex is the blue one.
I know the yellow was Jensen.
And Logan's the white one.
I believe this is Logan. This is Alex and Jensen. And then this is the meet and greet
for Jensen.
For Jensen and Alex. And I thought it was just Jensen, but we met both of them, which was really cool because I had never met Alex before. But so we all got in. Zach was also doing a Q&A. However, I hadn't eaten, so I needed to go get food.
We went back.
We saw Logan. I got to ask him a question for Lex, everybody. Shout out Lex. I went, what question do you want me to ask? And James, who's the moderator, knew me, and he was like, she can ask a question. And I was like, oh God. But I asked it. And then one of our mutuals on Twitter, she was going to meet Logan, and I was like, is there any way you can bring up Lex's flag? Like, please. She did. So Logan signed it. That was the highlight. And then
accomplished, by the way.
Yeah, mission accomplished. And then I was with Dev, Jules, Rosie,
Lynn.
No, Lynn wasn't there.
It was some random boy.
It was a random man. It was a random man. And I went, guys, we need to go to the Puma store. And everyone's like, why? Because it was literally like 3 hours before the person at Puma said George was going to be there. It was like, we just have to go to Puma. Sure enough, George was there with Lewis. They came out, said hello. I said, congrats on the win, George. And also, they came out, they said hello, talked a little bit, left. And then their team came out with driver cards. And the George girl, I was keeping my eye on her. I was like, I need a driver's card. back turned, and I was like, this is not happening. I did not fly to England and not get a George driver card. And I went, I flew from America for this. And she, when I tell you, she pivoted so fast and gave me a driver's card. And I grabbed 4. I totally grabbed 4 because I wanted one, Rosie wanted one, Dev and Jules wanted one. So that was
George
4 of
is
us.
my guy.
Yeah.
One of them.
Which was insane. Also, one of the guys in front of me tried to grab Rosie's driver card, and the girl went, Shout out to that Mercedes worker.
I would like Lewis Hamilton. God bless you. I love you. You are so short.
You're shorter in person.
Because George is so tall as well. George is like 6 foot something. Let me tell you, I
thought Lewis was the assistant. I thought Lewis was his assistant at first.
I did not notice Lewis at first because I was so locked it on George, and the height difference is ridiculous.
Lewis is actually stunning, though.
Oh,
like, stunning.
Gorgeous.
Anyways, then we ran back to Williams, and I was like, okay, we're just going to stay here and sit. And we sat downstairs. We actually went to the bathroom, and somebody went, wait, I think I follow you on Twitter to me. And I was like, uh-oh. Because this could go one of 2 ways. And I was like, and she's like, this is me. And she showed me her profile, and it was Sky. And I was like, Rosie, Sky is here.
I was in the cubicle I was like, because I was wearing a skirt. So I was like, kind of pull it up. And I was like, wait for me.
And we hung out with her and 2 other people, Ellie and I don't remember the girl's name.
Ellie's found.
Shoot. I'm so sorry. I'm really bad at names. The only reason why I remember their names is because I'm mutuals on Twitter. But then we met up with our friend Lynn as well. We sat there for a little bit, and then they were like, okay, Jensen's coming. And I was like, get up. We are going to stand. We are in every single video of Williams. Embarrassing. But they answered some questions, Alex and Jensen. It was insane. We got to meet Jensen and Alex.
Jensen signed my car.
Jensen signed the book I bought of his, but I don't know where it is.
But I would like to say it was a lovely meeting. Alex is so nice. Well, I would like everybody to know that Jensen Button said it was nice to meet me.
This is crazy.
He put that on my gravestone. Thank you.
Yeah. Then, literally that night, we went to Rosie's house because that Thursday we had to be up bright and freaking early.
I'd say it was like 8:30 on Thursday that we left. I'd say
we thought that was freaking early.
But by Sunday,
it was 4 a.m.
Yeah.
But we got to see the trophy. We kind of just walked around on Thursday.
Yeah.
Did we see any drivers do interviews? I don't think so. We did go to the Silverstone Museum though, everybody. And I have beef with the Silverstone Museum because I was in Germany. I was in Munich, Germany at the BMW freaking museum, and Sebastian Vettel's car was supposed to be there, and they went, oh, it says Silverstone Museum. Finally got to the Silverstone Museum. It's back in Germany. Nobody wants me to see Sebastian Vettel's car. However, I did see a part of his Red Bull, and I did cry.
And I have the live photos to prove it.
I did cry.
I'd say Thursday was the driest day of the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
By a milestone.
I will say, if you're thinking of going to Silverstone or you're going to Silverstone, I highly recommend camping.
Yes. Not that we were doing it, but yes.
Yeah, we weren't doing it, but I highly recommend it because Lynn did, and she got up at 8:30 every morning. We got up at 3 a.m. every morning. It was crazy. But then Friday, Kings of Leon was good. I was exhausted. I fell asleep. Anyways.
We had gone back to our group's designated meeting point, which was a giant mural of George Russell.
George Russell, likely. And then Friday, we had inner track access, which if you have that, I highly suggest getting a fast track into the track. because we were waiting in line and we did not get a very good seat. However, we did see Max's like pit crew, head of pit crew. We also saw we saw Lando
actually go in.
Go in. His McLaren was very attractive. We also saw Helmut Marko.
Yes, no one moved for that though.
Literally nobody moved.
And Christian Horner. We saw mostly like Red Bull up close.
Yeah. But this was also Lynn was designated getting the barricade for the fan stage. We were going to meet drivers at the entrance, which we didn't. But then we went to the fan zone.
Williams was Williams.
Williams was there. Alex completely recognized Lynn and threw her a hat, which good for her. I'm so happy for her.
Next up
was V-Carb.
Yeah.
And Daniel Ricciardo read my little sign that said, "You got me into F1," and he waved and gave me a thumbs up. We were going like musical chairs at the front.
Yeah, like, Lynn was at the front for William. Max was at the front.
And then V-Carb, I was there for Daniel Ricciardo, solely for Daniel Ricciardo, so sorry.
Next up was the McLaren pair. And yeah.
No. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have any photos of the McLaren boys because I don't care.
I cried.
She cried.
And let me say, because I was right in front, everyone was like, Lando. You can hear me in like the OP81 like social media reels as they come out. You can hear me go, "Oh, God." I am the only person in remotely the front of the crowd saying Oscar's name. Like
she did not get a hat, but we tried. We tried our best.
And I was like, he makes me feel so patriotic. I'm not even Australian. And there was a group of Australians next to us who started laughing. And it was just like, it's so embarrassing.
And then,
it's not even a little bit on the clip. Like, you can hear me loud and clear.
Yeah. And then also, we were looking on their Instagrams because there was like 15 minutes between each driver. So we were on V-Carbs. V-Carb replied to me because I was like, oh my gosh, I see me. And then Williams posted us like actually front and center. Fernando Alonso was in arm's length from me. I think I was the loudest person probably in the vicinity. Like even the people in the stands were not as loud as me. He was scared because he kept looking at me. So I definitely was loud enough. He was.
It is the whole thing.
Jimmy, please post the selfie. I have a selfie with Fernando Alonso and they haven't posted it. But yeah, that was the highlight of my life. I'm in Fernando Alonso's selfie on his phone that he won't post.
I'm in Oscar Piastri's.
No, the McLaren gave him a phone.
Yeah,
so
I know.
You're on McLaren's phone.
Yeah, I know, but he looks through the.
Yeah.
Anyways, he heard me be the only one to say his name. I'm gonna be sick.
And then it was practice, right? FP1.
Yeah.
Which by the way, no offense to F2 and F3, I wanted to see the drivers. So didn't really watch you, but you could watch them. I will say, if you're going to GA, bring a chair. Bring a chair. Especially not British, but mainly Americans. You will know what I say when if it's a GA sporting event, nobody brings chairs at all. Like, that's not a thing. We just stand the entire time. That's not a thing here. People brought chairs.
Especially because people knew they were gonna be there all day. I mean, putting your chair there is like putting a towel on a lounger when you're on holiday. People did it so to claim their spot, but also so they don't have to sit on the wet floor.
Yeah, but FP1 Yuki spun right in front of us, which is crazy, and then there was also a historic driving thing.
Yes.
And Jensen Button was in a car. And we were definitely the loudest. Nobody stayed for that except us. And then I booked it to the Euros. I booked it because my team was playing. I was like, I need to make sure Germany wins.
Anyway, moving on.
They didn't win, everybody.
Lewis and George came out and watched the Euros because it was their turn.
No, that's Saturday. We're on Saturday now. Saturday. We woke up early. It was raining. It was freezing.
Yeah.
The Ferrari boys were on the stage, and we didn't want to fight for that because
but we were pretty close anyway.
I just didn't want to get to barricade. I didn't really care. But we were really close.
They were so cute together.
But
they were recapping their like weekend, and Carlos was like, "Oh, I did this and then did this," and then Charles was like, "No, you didn't. You went to Maranello."
And he's like, "All right." And then it was quali.
Rainy.
It was raining, but it was fun. We screamed so loud for George Russell. He definitely heard us.
Definitely, as in he turned and waved. As did Charles for me.
And Oscar.
Oscar was at the driver's parade though.
Yeah.
But I was loud, guys.
So they said the Euros were going to be playing on every single stage, and we were trying to get to this pub that was like on site where I saw Germany, and I was like, guys, we're not getting up there. Let's just go to the main fan stage. Anyways, we watched the Euros, and then they were like, hey, by the way, George Russell's coming out, so we're going to have to turn off the Euros. And everyone's like, yeah, in your wildest dreams are we doing that? They turned him off, and then George came out and was like, put the Euros back on. I'm sitting and waiting. Mind you, this was during extra time. So like that, they were tied. So they had to go into overtime. This is for people who don't know the sport, to get a winner. They didn't. And then Lewis came out during penalty kicks, which is how they decided the match. And Lewis was like, oh no, I need to watch this. So he sat down too. So we watched England win the Euros match that they were playing with Lewis Hamilton and George Russell.
Also, for the audience, on the day this is being recorded, it is actually the finals of the Euros, which is England versus Spain. It's been a good run, England.
Anyways, next is race day. We woke up at 4:30 in the morning. Shout out Ollie. We have to shout out Ollie, really, because he took a nap before he went into the gates every morning because he wanted to make sure he would be able to drive us back. And then he continued to drive to his house every night. He drove the entire time. None of us drove.
Well, that's mainly because I don't have my license.
Yeah, and I don't know how to drive a European car. But
and it's like the drives were pretty easy. Like that's not just us saying that. Ollie would say that as well.
We did fall asleep every time though, so
yeah,
we are not helping.
But Ollie, honestly, a legend. And
so Sunday, he's like, "I'll pick you up literally at 4 in the morning, not in the afternoon." Everybody,
the drive is about
hour
2 hours. Yeah, hour and a half, 2 hours, depending.
With the traffic. And the reason why we got there earlier was because the Saturday we got stuck in traffic, and he's like, I don't want to sit in traffic again. And we're like, okay, what time do you want to get here? Like, basically it was all up to him. And so he said, I'll pick you up at 4. We'll just all take a nap in the car, which we did. Rosie and I got up. We got into our seats. We saved Ollie a seat. We were front in our section, which was very nice. It was wet again.
As usual.
We basically sat there all day.
All day.
Because it was F3 race, which was entertaining. I just didn't know the drivers. Then it was F2, which was very entertaining.
We watched Kimi win his sprint race.
That was Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we did watch that. That was his first F2 win.
And then we watched him completely fail in the race. So
on Sunday, however, I'm pretty sure I was asleep for like
You were asleep for most of it. I wasn't. I was
literally curled up on the concrete in my little Uzi.
I had some guys who were like, "Is she okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, she's fine." And then we finally got a sunny moment. Like it was so sunny. I was going like this. It was so sunny. So we stood because we were soaking wet, and this guy behind us was like, "Just letting you know, like people are gonna be mad at you for standing."
the race isn't for like 2 hours.
Nobody's on the track, first of all. Second of all, my entire body is dripping wet. I'm trying to dry off.
My ass is soaking wet, okay?
We were miserable. But then the sun came out and it stayed out, basically. Sort of. It kind of drizzled, but it was nothing like the morning. But then we watched the race. Which, by the way, as an American who's been to an American F1 race, Miami, I was like, it was fun, but it was like a sporting event and then you went home. Silverstone was, you came, there were events, you'd watch the race, then you'd stay for the rest of the day, which America doesn't really have that. So crazy. And then also, like, the fans that come out for their drivers, mainly the British drivers, so like Lando, Lewis, George, that was it. Alex, I wish I had more, but unfortunately,
I just don't think there were that many Williams people there anyway.
Yeah. But
apart from Lynn,
they were insane. Like, they went all out. So if you go to a European race, I suggest it. It's crazy. The vibes are crazy. The atmosphere, it's basically like a 4-day festival. So
yeah. Well, people people say again and again that Silverstone is like the race to go to. Like, the atmosphere is like, you know, crazy.
I 100% would agree.
Like,
it's crazy.
It's just different. I mean, obviously it's beneficial that I live here and we had like free accommodation and like
it's expensive. Silverstone is expensive, but I think it's worth the expenses because of the experience. Like, you're paying for the experience and you're getting it.
Yeah.
Like,
massively.
I feel like you'd pay the same amount for Vegas and you'd get absolutely no atmosphere whatsoever.
So Kings of Leon performed. We had Rudimental on the last day. Stormzy and someone else I can't
we didn't watch because none of us cared about.
Pete Tong. It was so there was Kings of Leon, there was Pete Tong, Stormzy, and Rudimental.
Like, literally, when Lewis Hamilton crossed the line and he was P1 and he won, I don't think there was a dry eye in 164,000 people. Like, America just doesn't have that. And don't tell me, like, oh, NFL, like the World Cup, the whatever. What is the World? What? It's not World Cup. What is American football? Super Bowl. Like, men don't cry like that. People were sobbing.
And
it was the best probably experience of my life, and I'm not even joking. We did get to walk the track afterwards. I have an entire bag of track.
I have a massive tire piece, actually. Look at this bad boy. This is my hand for reference.
We literally saw people taking signs. We saw people taking, like, metal. It was crazy. Somebody walked by us with half of Paul Aaron's car. Don't know how they got that. But it was fun. We did walk the entire thing and we couldn't figure out how to get out.
Oh my god, that was the most stressful bit. And then we got out and we were like, I don't even know where we are.
They were like,
I've never seen this part of the track.
They were like, we're closing the track. And I was like, we're trying to get out of the track. We don't know how, but we did finally find it. Yeah. Anyways, that was it for Silverstone. But if you're thinking about going to Silverstone, camp, bring a chair, and bring 20 pairs of socks.
A poncho, like a waterproof poncho,
like a real rain jacket. A real rain jacket, not like these flimsy little outdoor. A real rain jacket, maybe your winter jacket.
Yeah,
and an umbrella.
Even though it was July, it was fucking cold. Yeah,
Pants?
an umbrella, a rain poncho, and a rain jacket, and make sure you have all of them on at the same time.
Yeah. But yeah. Other than that,
can I just say, like, the toilets were, like, considering it's a massive van, normally they'd be like portaloos that are British thing, but the toilets were like almost like temporary mobile home kind of vibes, and they were like so clean, so well kept. So shout out to like And the water was actually hot. Like, I think it was
my gosh.
Saturday. Our
The
hands were so cold we couldn't feel them.
yeah. Anyways, that's all I have.
Yeah. As
was fun.
always, we'll keep you updated on any news, seat changes, seat decisions. Carlos, I'm looking at you.
The next time the next time this is gonna happen is Coda.
Yes.
Because I'm
in
pretty
terms
sure
of
everyone but
experiences,
us
is
going.
going.
Anyways, it's been fun. I've been Mox.
I've been Rosie.
And that was the Silverstone experience recap
We will see you in Hungary.
in Hungary.